All right. Very good. Good morning. Today is Daf Chav Beis Maseches Moed Katan. So we left off the last two words, the bottom line of Chav Aleph Moed Beis Iboilahu. So we were discussing there the last case we ended off regarding the time of Shiva, right? The time of Shiva. Now, as we all know, that this is not a halacha l'maisa class, right? We're learning the Gemara, so some things might be a little different than what we're knowing. But actually, we're going to get to touch upon the minhag today. But we discussed over here a case of where they started in the some members who were in town. They started, and other people, if they were within the town, within a day's travel. So if they got there in the first 3 days, then they have the same count. Basically, they would just start from day 3 and then go to day 7. If they came after day 3, came day 4, right? Then they begin to go ahead and they have their own 7-day count. And Rabbi Yochanan added a point. He says, and that is when we're talking about when the Gadol Habayis, right, whether the oldest brother or the one who makes all the decisions, whether he was the one who basically started the Shiva in the house, and therefore the other one will come towards him. So a question was asked. Let's see what's going on. Halach Gadol Habayis lebeis hakfaros. As Rashi explains, this case over here, we're talking about, let's say the Gadol Habayis. He went after the mitzvah to go ahead and bury. And then wherever the burial was, he was there for 3 days, and then he returned right afterwards. So Mahu, the Gadol Habayis, the oldest son, or the one who was in charge of decision making, right? So he comes and he comes back after 3 days. So Mahu, what is the halacha? Do we say that it's like he was in a bias since he went for Tzar Chametz? Or do we say that when he comes back, that he has to go ahead and start his own count? So Tashma comes to Damar B'Chibar Rabbi Rabbi Yochanan Afilu Halach Gadol Habayis Beis Hakfaros. Even if he goes there, Mayna Iman, right? So he counts with them. In other words, that even though he comes back, let's say day 4, nevertheless, since he was involved in Tzar Chametz, his counting is counted. He starts when those who were in the house began their count. So the Gemara says, "Mona Iman, Vatanya." So the Gemara asks, "Mona Iman, Vatanya learn Mona la'atzmi counts." So that was like kasha. If he comes within 3 days, then he counts with him. If he comes after 3 days, then he goes ahead and he begins his own count. Kiha damar lehu Rav lebnei Tzafuni. Right, that which Rav said to the people of Tzafuni. Right, if you guys come back within 3 days, then you go ahead and you count for those in the house. But if however you don't come back within 3 days, then leave then go ahead and begin your own count of 7 days. And Amar lo Rava lebnei Mechuzah, Rava said to Bnei Mechuzah, Asun delazvisu basar ariza. This is something is more shaykh today, nowadays, right, with Eretz Yisrael and people in America. You who are not going to the burial, in other words, they used to go, as Rashi brings down, they used to go from Babel to Eretz Yisrael for the burial, oftentimes, but not everyone will go. So you who are going, right, you who are not going to the base across the burial, all right, mechi mahadrisu. Right, when you turn around from the gate, basically you escort the mace outside of the city. Once you turn around from the town gate to go back to your houses, that is when you begin your counting. That's when you begin the Shiva, as opposed to the one who is to waiting for the burial. Fine, 2 dots. So even if he comes back in the 7th day, Rabbi Shimon had a different opinion. He says even if he comes back, as long as he comes back within the 7 days, then he's included in their count. And Amar Rabbi Chibar Agam, Amar Rabbi Yosi ben Shol, Amar Rabbi V'Hushaba Umatz ben Achim Etzla. So when he comes back, and there's still people, Shiva calls, right? People there, being Menachem, the mourners. And as long as they're still there, then he's included in the Shiva. But if they're no longer there, basically the people already sort of got up because it makes them kakulo, then he would not be able to sort of say, hey, that was we were together the 7 days. He would have to begin his own new 7 days. And by Rav, so Rav asked the question, right? People, begin to get up, they push their seats back, those who are visiting the mourners, but they don't exactly stand up yet, right? So in such a case, he comes back during that moment, so take it, the Gemara does not give it to us. So Gemiri Chavre de Rabbi Abba bar Abba me Rabbi Abba, right? So the friend of Rabbi Abba bar Chia, bar Abba, of Rabbi Abba bar Chia was learning from Rabbi Abba, and who was the friend of Reb Zera. And there was Reb Zera. V'Amrilan, some say it was Chavrei the Reb Zera. Some say it was a friend of Reb Zera. Me Reb Zera was looking from Reb Zera. Umanan, who was the friend of Reb Zera? Rabbi Abba, Berei Reb Chia, Rabbi Chia bar Abba. So what happened? Anyways, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, halacha k'Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel b'treifos, v'halacha k'Rabbi Shimon b'Yovel. The halacha is like Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel when it comes to treifos, which we'll soon see what the case is, and the halacha is like Rabbi Shimon when it comes to Avel, right? The halacha is like Rabbi Shimon in terms of that if a person is karov and he only basically knows about the shiva and he comes to the shiva on, let's say, on day 6 or day 7, or even 4 through 7, right? He's included in the count of the previously started 7 days with those in town. So that's halacha like Rabbi Shimon, who's mekel, right? He's mekel because he says you don't need to do a full 7, you can join in. And Rabbi Shimon b'Yavel, the case of Rabbi Shimon b'Yavel is what we just said. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, but treifos, what's the case of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel? Treifos, the time of the Mishnah b'nei Mayim shenikva v'leicha says man kshera. If you have the intestines, there's a hole in the intestines, but the leicha, right? It was still sealed. We'll soon see what that is. Then it's kshera. Then the animal is not considered to be a treifa. It's a kosher animal. So my lecha. What does it mean that the lecha was still intact? So if you go ahead and you push down the intestines, I guess it sort of oozes out. It's like a fat that oozes out. That's part, I guess, by the intestines. So if that part, the hole did not go through there, right? The kishka, whatever it is around there, then that would be okay. So that was the case in treifos. That was halacha there. And Omar Mandahu, so says certain individual, right? Mandahu knows one of the individuals said we don't know. Right? Let me should be zeicha to go up to Eretz Yisrael and learn these halachas from he whose mouth this came out of. So Kisalik, when he went to Eretz Yisrael, Ashkei Rabbi Abba Bered Rabbi Chia bar Abba. He found Rabbi Abba Bered Rabbi Chia bar Abba. And Amar Le Mar Halach Rabbi Shimon Gamliel the treifos. You said the halach is like a Shimon Gamliel the treifos. Amar Le Ana. Ein halacha amri. No, we said so he said the halacha is not like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. In other words, that case is not kosher. It's a treifa because it's a hole in the intestine. And Rabbi Shimon ben Avel, what Rabbi Shimon ben Avel? Right? Do we say like that? So Amalei pluksanino. That's machlekes. The Itzmar Rav Chizda Amar halacha. Rav Chizda said this halacha. In other words, we're makel over there that you can count the 7 days even though you claimed after day 3. V'chein Amar B'Yechon halacha. Rav Nachman Amar ein halacha. Rav Nachman said ein halacha. Vein halacha Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. But treifas also said the halacha is not like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Treifas halacha Rabbi Shimon ben Avel. The halacha is like Rabbi Shimon ben Avel. Why? Damar Shmuel, as we saw earlier, Shmuel said halacha k'divrei mekel b'Avel. The halacha is like the divrei mekel when it comes to avelos. Period. Fine. 3 lines from the bottom. Al kol hamesim kulon medachem itasa.
So Shmuel went home. The even if he's the gadol Abani, he finishes his shiva with everybody else.
If he comes after, right? So the Gemara actually did not address if the gadol bayis is not in the house, right? The Gemara actually did not say that specific case, right? I assume there's machloikas, achronim and poskim in terms of that, because it only really talks about, it doesn't say if he's out of the house in terms of Rabbi Shimon, what he would say in such a case. But l'chayra, he did not make any chiluk in the matter, right? Rabbi Shimon just made a statement, even if he comes afterwards. Rabbi Yochanan made only chiluk when he was going in the Tanakh. So l'chayra, it doesn't make a difference who comes back or who was there first. He would join in the shiva if there's already people in the Beis Hava. So I call Meisim Kulan Medach Mitasa Hareis Meshubach. If he goes ahead and you hurry up, you get the kvura, right? The kvura is done very quickly. Hareis Meshubach. That is praiseworthy, right? We know Minhag Yishleim is to do it very quickly, right? Al Avi Val Imo Hareis Meguna. However, for one's father, one's mother, that's not a good thing to hurry it up, right? Rather, one should take their time, right, to be maspid properly. However, Haya Erev Shabbos or Erev Yantif, it was Erev Shabbos, it was Friday, or Erev Yantif, Harei Meshubach, that is Meshubach to go ahead and bury them quickly. Shein Oisel Lichvod Avi Vimo, because they'll only do it for the kavod of his parents. Now I'll call him Meisim Kulan. Now we do have a couple differences, right, between one whose parents died versus one whose siblings, spouse, or children. I'll call him Meisim Kulan. Writes in mind, Iska Ratz Eino. If one who wants to go ahead and do work, or not do work, right? Like some sort of schayra, have his shop open, whatever. If he wants to or not. Al avi valimo. However, if he's mourning his father or his mother, then he has to go ahead and refrain from from doing his activity, right? Minimize it. For other relatives who die, he wants to go ahead and basically expose his shoulder. Expose his shoulder, he can or he doesn't have to. However, then he does expose his shoulder, right? I'm not sure we have such a minhag nowadays. He wants to go. One time there was a ma'isa with a gadol ador that one of his father died. And this gadol ador was going to go ahead and do chalit. He was going to go be chalitz his shoulder. And another gadol ador, right, was with him. He was going to do the same out of reverence for this gadol ador. However, he did not do it. He didn't do it. Some Rabbi gadol ador. So it says Rabbi gadol ador, Rebbe gadol ador Shimo, Rabbi Yaakov bar Acha. Right. So the gadol ador was Rebbe, right, and the one who was going to go ahead and do the chalitza, right, exposing his own shoulder with him, right, to be in, he's standing with him, would be the Mishtati would be Rabbi Yaakov bar Acha. Vigadam, in some different version, gadol ador Rabbi Yaakov bar Acha. The gadol ador Rabbi Yaakov bar Acha, basically was the Avel was Rabbi Yaakov bar Acha, and the gadol ador Shimo, that was Rebbe. So Bish Lama Lamandim gadol ador Shimo Rebbe. It makes sense that the gadol ador was with him was Rebbe. Hainu Danimna, because therefore Rabbi Yaakov bar Acha did not go ahead and do the chalitza on his shoulder, and therefore Rebbe didn't do it also. Rather, if the other gadol is Rabbi Yaakov bar Acha, that means Rebbe's father died. So amay nimna v'lo chalatz. Why did Rabbi Yaakov bar Acha not go ahead and expose his own shoulder himself? Nothing to do with Rebbe, right? Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Nasi Abi, who was Rebbe's father? Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, right? And he was the Nasi. If the Nasi passes away, as we'll soon see later on, right, that there basically one is Noheg Avelus. So he should have exposed his shoulder, not even because to stand in unison, right? With one of the Gadol Ador, rather because the Nasi was a nifter. Everyone should have been choletz kasha. Good kasha. Fine. I call amazim kulam mistaper for what is mourning for other relatives besides one's parents, and mistaper lach shleshim yom. Then he goes ahead and cut his hair for 30 days. Al aviv al imo. However, for his parents, ad shiga ba chaverov, until basically his friend says you look like a caveman and you should really go cut your hair. And I think that is also the halacha that we do now, right? Al kol hamesim kula nichlas the base of simcha liachar shleishim yom. Right, for other relatives, one can go ahead and do a base of simcha. We'll soon see what that is after 30 days. However, for one's parents, should be after 12 months. And Amar Rabbi Chana ula simchas marius. We're talking about the simchas marius. Now, they used to have like game nights, right? They used to have game nights with one's friends. They would get together, right, with different couples, and they would host one another, right? So those are the types of simchas we're talking about. Not that one after 30 days can go to a chasna, right? That's a real party. But these simchas marios, they used to have these these get-togethers. So Meisvei. Right. So over here, so the Gemara is saying that which we say you go to Simcha, right? We're only talking about you can go to the Simchas Marius, right? The Simcha of the game night, we'll call it, right? When they get together with other couples and different people take turns of hosting, so to see, right? But when it comes to a chasna, that's different. The Gemara says Meisvei ula Simcha ula Marius shleishim yom. It says for a simcha and Marius. So obviously the Marius is talking about itself, right? Reus, that's talking about game night. So the simcha has to be talking about an actual simcha, like a chasna. So Gemara says kasha, yeah, it's a good kasha, you're right. And the Meimer Masiyach, Meimer taught this way. The simchas Marius game night, you can go ahead and mutal kanis altar, after 7 days. After a simcha is 30 days, and for Marius is shleishim. So like kasha. If we're talking about initiating game night, right, then you can't do that during the shloshim. That's the case. You can't do it during the shloshim is no good. But if they already started game night, right, they started game night 2 weeks earlier, right, then you have Shiva, then you get it from Shiva, that you can host even within the 30 days. So if it was already started, right, it takes a turn hosting, right, then you're allowed to continue. But to start the countdown, you have to wait after Shloshim. But according to this, the other Mesim, it would be even for a chasna, it would also be after 30 days, like you pointed out. And I'll call it Mesim Kulan Karei Tefa. For other members who die, person goes ahead, he has to tear at least the tefach. You have to tear all the way down from the from the top of the collar all the way down to the heart, which is lower than the tefach. Where's the passage that we see in the tefach? The passage says, "Vaychazek David b'Gadav vaykarem." It says Vayikraim, right? And they called them. I'm kidding. Right. So Vikraim. So it says over there. Is it because it's Haftarah or is this just because Stamny, All right, fine. Anyway, so he says, right. So he straightened his heart. So no, he basically he took his go and he tore it. It says he grabbed it by chazek, and the chiza only is if he's holding on to something. He has to hold something which is liza tefach. And Alkohol means if you lavush asar chaluki bena kare ella eliyah. One who goes ahead and he's wearing, let's say, 10 layers. He only tears the outer one. However, that's for other mason. However, then he has to go ahead and tear all of them. However, for kasuso, that's referring to some sort of, I think Rashi put some sort of wrap that maybe starts around the head, maybe goes a little, over the body also, right? Shal rosho, right? The Rashi says al rosho. That's not ena ma'akev. That one does not have to go ahead and tear. Echad ha'ish v'echad ha'isha. What both man and woman when it comes to tearing is the same. Ha'isha karas es hatachtain. So basically, she first tears the lower garment, right, the one that's close to her body. So then turns it around, so the hole is basically now on her back, and then she goes ahead and tears the one at top, keneged liba. I'll call him Mason Kulan Ratsa Mavdil Kame Safa Shelo Ratsa Einam Ratsa Einam Avdil. For all other ones, now there is a neckline. If one would go ahead and tear from the neck, right, it would just look like it's more open, right? There's more of a neckline, right? It's more of a loose fitting, right? V-neck versus whatever the other neck, the regular, right? Round neck, right? So if you just you tear it from there, it just looks like you're wearing like a V-neck, right? So therefore, one, if he wants to, for other mason, he can tear from there, basically to just sort of increase the neckline or not. However, he has to go ahead and separate the nodes. He can't basically just start and just make himself from his round neck into a V-neck. Rather, he has to start off of the hem that's or the thing that's around the circle and tear away from there. So it looks like it's two separate separate things. That's a real tear. Only from mother and father. He says, no, even I'll call him Mason. All the other Mason, you have to do a kriya. You have to do a kriya. You can't just start it from the neckline, so it just looks like you're wearing a V-neck. Rather, you have to do it not. You don't start at the edge. You start from the middle. And Amar Rabbi Yehuda, in my time, Rabbi Yehuda, what's the reason Rabbi Yehuda? The pasuk says vaykarem. L'shnayim. So it says there l'shnayim. So karem mashmash l'shnayim karem. So he tears into two. Mashna marve karem enuder shein l'shnayim. The fact that says that he tears it, I don't know. He tears it in two. Ella. So why does it have to say the shnayim? Ella shenirin turning to shnayim. Rather, it has to appear like two different garments, right? It can't be like you just increase the neckline. It must be that you tear it away from the beggar that's around that's by the collar. And I call him Kulan Shalil Achashiva for all other relatives, one can go ahead and basically loosely sew it after 7 and fix it up completely after 30 days. However, now you can go ahead and loosely fix up after 30 days. You can never go ahead and fix it. And the woman's allowed to go ahead and basically fix it up. All right, at least sew it loosely, and other even immediately during Shiva because of the pay further. And Kiyasa Rabin Rabbi Yechon Alkola Mason writes Ratza Kare Biyad Ratza Kare B'Kli. Other relatives, you can go ahead and tear with your hand or tear with a kli. Alavi Valima Biyad. However, if it's a father and mother, then you have to go ahead and tear with your hand. And for other relatives, one tears from the inside. Either it's under the garment, so he tears, or he can do it, in the privacy of his home. However, al-avi val-imo. However, when it comes to father mother, then he tears starting from the outside or in public. And Rav Chizda v'chei nasi. So too it applies by nasi. So Meisavei Azukash says lahushvu la'avi l'imo el lechui bilvad. It says there the nasi and the abbas and a couple other members. They're similar to the parents. And it says over there when one's parents die, lahushvu la'avi l'imo el lechui bilvad. That's only talking about sewing it nicely afterwards. That for the nasi and abbas, then you can't go ahead and re-sew it. But my lava filo nasi, even for the nasi, and now it's only that the sewing is the same. But in terms of tearing it on the outside, the Rav Chizda just said nasi, that shouldn't apply. The only similarity between nasi and avi va'imo should be the fact that you can't fix it. So Gemara answers lo bar minasi. No, that's not referring to nasi. That's referring to, I think, over there the Abbas did, and then the Rav Eir. So that was referring to other people.
When David tore his clothes, that's where the Malach is for Shalom. So it's interesting what he.
In that case.
So for Shalom.
All right, very good. Nasiya, fine. The bar minasi. So Nasiya shachiv. So I guess the Nasi died. So Rav Chizda says Rav Chizda le Rav the head right to Rav Nachman bar Ami, something in the Girsa, right? Kabi asusa v'kum alev yachvi kriya liyalma. Go ahead, turn over the board and stand on it so people can go ahead and see you tear kriya. No, that should be done. It's like one's parents. Al chacham chelis miyamin. For a chacham, one exposes right his right shoulder. Right, al basin is as small as the left shoulder. Al nasi, but for the nasi, mekan both shoulders. And actually, you know, we'll stop here. This continues a longer bright, so that goes into tomorrow. Tomorrow's a Friday. Well, it actually depends who davens. It's no longer like we'll stop here. Shkoyach, everybody.